Yo, what is up, everybody?
Welcome back to Mile Higher Podcast, episode 60. And today we're going to be exposing the education system. And that's something that a lot of us are familiar with because you spend a lot of time in school. So we figured it would be kind of interesting to look more into how the system actually works, kind of some of the failures in the system, talk about our experiences, because we actually both do have very different perspectives to bring to this conversation. We had really different school experiences. So
yeah, we did. So all of those things. And then, I thought it was important too. Like you said, we spend so many years in school, but we talk about all these other facets of our life, like government and health and all these other things. So I think it's only fair that we tackle, the current education system. Specifically, we're going to be talking about the American public education system, but we'll be talking about college as well. But honestly, I was looking into a lot of the issues that the UK faces and things like that. And honestly, around the world, there's a lot of similar issues there. So, you guys that are out there, in other parts of the world, I think will be able to relate to some of these failures and things like that with the current education system here in America.
Sorry.
So we are diving into that today, but let's go ahead and jump into this week's news stories. The first story is actually all of our stories are going to probably blow your mind today, but physicists are starting to suspect that this physical reality that we all live in is possibly an illusion. Now, this is interesting. So a new column in the Scientific American floated the idea that what's fundamentally real in the universe is its actual base reality isn't the quarks, fields, the quantum phenomena that seem to compromise it. Instead, according to scientist and philosopher Bernardo Kastrup, some are starting to suspect that matter itself is an illusion and that the only real thing is information. So to put this in a very basic idea is essentially that the physical universe exists because we perceive it. And it's sort of a mass hallucination we use to make sense of mathematical relationships with objects. Does that make any sense to you at all? That this physical reality is perceived and not actually real? No,
because I'm confused about how if we don't actually have a reality, how we be perceiving anything. Because we perceive
objects, the information still. Well, I think that what they're saying is that we perceive the information as all these mathematical concepts and laws and algorithms and all these things, equations that essentially make up what gravity is, make up all of the natural laws. Everything that is matter at the base of it comes back to mathematical concepts. So it's kind of this idea that your brain or your consciousness or whatever it is that decodes the information and then feeding it that information it picks up and then perceiving this reality, which it seems really complicated.
Literally no sense to me. I'm sorry, that went right over my head.
It's all right. It probably went through a lot of people's heads, but basically
that was confusing as fuck. This whole thing is confusing.
That's why there's physicists that are studying this. So, it makes sense, but could it be possible that physical reality doesn't exist and this is an illusion, like some type of advanced, how we talked about simulation, but more of like an advanced hallucination that our consciousness is creating for us. Like it's playing a movie.
But if our consciousness is real, why wouldn't we be real? That seems so weird.
True.
I don't know. I don't believe this.
No, this doesn't. Yeah.
I'm smarter than them. I don't know. This doesn't feel right to me. Well, not that it doesn't feel right, but you know what I mean? It doesn't feel like what is real to me. I don't know. I highly doubt that we're imagining everything and that life is one giant hallucination. I hate these theories. They annoy me.
Well, there's no information about what created that, what created the ability for us to have this hallucination in the first place.
Yeah, that's so confusing. I really do think there's something more to life. I definitely don't think it's a big illusion, but what do I know? Right. So,
true. And you have to think about it from an academic scientist perspective, is they're going to always try to find facts and actual evidence to back up their claims.
I feel like because they don't understand how it all works and because they don't understand everything, they're just there's nothing.
Well, yeah, exactly. It's nothing, or it's these educated guesses they're making. Because a lot of scientists don't believe in anything more. Obviously not all, but there's a large majority that don't believe in anything anything metaphysical, anything spiritual. A lot of them, there's a lot of famous ones at least that are very much atheist or, just don't believe in anything, So I think that could be more of a perspective they're coming from because if you have any sort of, spiritual beliefs or anything along those lines, then that's kind of just like goes out the window.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, somewhat, unless it's simulated reality, but
I don't know. It's interesting. I'm glad that they're working on this kind of stuff, though. It's really interesting to hear about.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important that we try to figure out what a reality is, because what if we do figure it out and then we have the answers to life and the answers to everything? I've said this before,
but I really don't think we're supposed to know.
No? Not at all?
I think that's like part of the human experience, is not knowing the point of life.
We'll never be smart enough to really figure out what the hell's going on, basically.
Probably not.
No.
Unless we're like,
we'll try and try and try.
Level 10 aliens or something.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of aliens, let's get into our next topics here. They have to all do with space and aliens, of course.
Yeah, this is really exciting news. I heard about this.
Yeah, so this is like fresh out of the oven today.
Fresh out of the oven.
Vice President Mike Pence.
Well, today, you guys are going to hear this later. So today is Wednesday in our life.
True. But he issued a bold new directive to NASA to put humans back on the moon within the next 5 years.
Maybe to put conspiracy theorists to rest, because we're all like, why the fuck haven't you gone back to the moon?
It's been 50 years, dude. 50 years.
Yeah. 50 years?
50 years, man. And it's like, I'm honestly glad, because we should be on the moon and have it established, something going on there, which on the flip side, we might already, and it's just all top secret. And Mike Pence has even read into this whole idea of a secret space program that's going on, which we'll cover. I feel like
if there is something like that, then Mike Pence probably doesn't know about it.
Absolutely not.
Because from what we've kind of like heard just from people that know what they're talking about when it comes to aliens, like the president may not even be filled in.
No.
Like Dr. Greer said, they wouldn't know as much. There's so many people above them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you think about it, I think most presidents probably know about the UFO phenomena, probably know about that, at least that it exists and that it's there, because the government, the Pentagon was running, programs on that.
Right,
and
they know about the phenomena. Obviously, I'm just saying, like, if there is a secret base on the moon, like we were talking about,
they wouldn't know about that probably.
Right. That's what I was saying.
But it's interesting that he literally is like, we have to do this no matter what. Like, this is a priority, and that we will use any means necessary to accomplish this goal of putting humans back on the moon. Because there's kind of been this whole idea that there's another space race going on between China, Russia, and the US. So, of course, Mike Pence is like, America's got to be number one. And we've got to, and I agree, we've got to be first ones on the moon with established base. Not so that we can control it, but so that we can, I guess so we can control it a bit. But I think it's interesting that this is all, sort of happening really fast. And not only that, the government is also releasing more and more information about UFOs, like we talked about last week with Tom's new show coming out in May. Like they're literally, the government officials are literally going to be like, yes, the UFO phenomenon is real. We're studying it. We don't really know what it is. Wink, wink. But
I got a comment on, I don't know, it might have just been a tweet or a comment. I don't know what it was on, but someone told me, which I don't know if this is true. They said that their mom was like dating a Phoenix police officer, and that the Phoenix Police Department was training some of the officers, including this guy, for an alien invasion. What do you think of that? Do you think it's true?
Ooh.
Sorry.
Do I think it's true? No, I don't. But could it be? Maybe.
Well, not that the person was making it up. I'm sure they were telling the truth. But what if like the police was lying to them or something?
I mean, if anything, I think the police, if they were preparing for some type of event, it would be like massive rioting, crowd control type policing. Yeah. I mean, what are the police going to do? All go fight the aliens? Like,
but I don't know. Maybe they're planning a attack or planning a false flag alien attack in Phoenix. So those specific police officers are being trained. Gotcha. That's what I was kind of thinking.
Oh, yeah.
But I mean, I have no way to verify this. It was just someone's like message to me, but they didn't seem like, I don't know. They seemed really legit to me, but hey, I don't know.
That's interesting actually, because I mean,
because Phoenix, like Phoenix Lights, and hasn't a lot of alien stuff. Yeah. A lot of stuff has happened in New Mexico for aliens. It's like a hotspot. Where else would the aliens go? Right.
Yeah.
So it would make sense. Phoenix police are doing, what if they really are training? Because like, if you think about it, if the president is literally like, I mean, not even just the president, this was going on before him. If they are making a space force, chances are they're probably talking about possible invasion to police, right? Or at least some stations have to be. maybe Phoenix, like because of their history, they're like, this could happen. Maybe they're more open-minded and they just decide to do
very
training.
true. I mean,
which obviously I am not
possible.
trying to say here that the Phoenix police are training for an alien invasion. I literally just read someone's comment, so I have zero way to verify that. But
no, that's a very interesting point though. And I think could definitely be real. I mean, who knows?
Yeah.
I mean, we've got all these UFOs flying over the place. I wanted to just share a UFO sighting from March 16, 2019 in Las Vegas, 15 miles west of Las Vegas. UFO was spotted by a pilot, an air ambulance pilot. Here is the audio from it. I always find these super interesting to listen to. So here it is.
Yeah, it is interesting.
RCR 21, radar contact 15 to the west of Las Vegas. VOR, clear to Bravo airspace.
Hey, 21, position checks. And just to advise, it looks like I have some sort of object over the southern hills area. Looks to be about 7,000 feet. Could be a balloon or something along those lines. It's unlit, so just advise.
Okay, I'm not seeing anything in that area, but that's not to say, like you're saying, there's something out there.
Yeah, I can only see it. I got night vision goggles on. I can only see it through the goggles.
Oh, that's awesome.
I love the air traffic controller's answer to that. He's like, I can only see this unidentified flying object with night vision on, which is interesting. And then he's like, the air traffic controller's like, oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So he mentioned like maybe a weather balloon, but that didn't make any sense because weather balloons have to be lit up in order for them to see, and they have to be reported to air traffic.
Yes.
So that they can see where they're at and so that they don't cause problems. But this was not on any radars. It had no reason to be there.
Oh.
And this guy clearly saw something like flying around.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy,
all
man.
these pilots aren't making shit up. Like, imagine, why would they just like be calling in fake things, you know?
They're not. I mean, they're seeing legitimate UFOs out there. And I mean, as to what they are, I don't know. But what if UFOs are actually time machines from the future?
Damn, just hit me with that.
Get ready to, yeah. So,
okay, what?
So this is interesting. A professor at Montana Tech has suggested that the UFO phenomenon may be evidence of time travel. In his new book, Identified Flying Objects, anthropology professor Michael Masters argues UFOs are time machines occupied by humans from the future.
Wow.
The UFO phenomenon may be our own distant descendants coming back through time to study us in their own evolutionary past, he said.
Wait, I'm tripping now because when I covered that freaking John Teeter case, we go back to John motherfucking Teeter all the time.
I'm telling you, man.
I think I believe in John Teeter. Is that crazy? It's like the wackest theory. I think it's pretty much been debunked. But
I think if anything, I think that time travel is like a absolutely real thing. I believe that. He
said that UFOs, the UFOs that we are seeing are time. Yes, it's in my video. I literally said it.
I bet this professor knows about John Teeter.
Oh my God.
So he probably like took that from John Teeter and then thought about it some more. All of this shit
John Teeter has been saying since like 2001. So much of it has come true. It's insane.
It's very weird.
But a lot of it didn't come true. Yeah. So it's so weird. I don't know. I'm somewhere in the middle. I can't commit fully, but the John Teeter thing is so weird.
But think about that for a minute. I mean, we always think about flying saucers and UFOs associated with extraterrestrial beings of some sort. Like, what if they are future humans?
Wow.
Traveling. I mean, we know that these craft are anti-gravity. They can create holes in space time and they can literally like portal through like just do crazy shit.
I think if they were, I mean, I guess these are going really fast, but I would think that like if you're time traveling, you'd be going like faster than the speed of light or something, like be like almost too fast to see.
Well, yeah. I mean, you can't see when you're in there in the speed of light. Like,
yeah. So I don't know. That's
I don't know what it's like when they're traveling around, but
what if it really is though? That's
it's really interesting.
Really cool to think about.
A professor like wrote a whole book about this, and he says that like one of the reasons why he believes this is because a lot of people that are alien abductees or allegedly abducted by UFOs describe encounters with entities that are pure human-like, which is very true. A lot of abductions that I've learned about definitely have people talking about how they were with, there was like little aliens, but there was also full on human looking people essentially, which is really interesting to think about. Cause what if it's a combination? What if it's a combination of future humans along with our now new extraterrestrial friends that now, inhabit the planet with us? What if one day in the future, we literally live in a society where we have all these interplanetary species? Because we become interplanetary, other species come to this planet. And so it's like humans, and then there's all these other races that live amongst us. And
mind blown. Wow.
In the future, we figure out, oh, their spaceships can time travel too? Hell yeah. And we start time traveling. And that's what we're seeing is like time travelers just flying around through the sky, observing.
Wow.
Or conducting experiments.
Yeah. I wonder how like far from the future they are, if it's real.
Good question. I wonder how far. Hopefully not that far.
Yeah. Well, John Teeter said they start time traveling like pretty soon. Like the 30s. Are we going to like repeat the decades? Are we going to call it like the 30s, 40s, 50s again?
Yeah, I would assume so.
It'd be funny. Like, oh yeah, in the 30s.
I mean, there might be a new term, like
or people just say 2030s, I guess. It's not that hard.
Yeah.
It's easier than saying like 1930s. Well, I guess not really. I don't know.
Good point.
Okay, moving on.
But the last bit of alien news I have is...
This is crazy.
A former Polish president has speculated about a possible alien invasion publicly. So the former president of Poland surprised his audience at a recent speaking engagement when he began speculating about UFOs and how an alien invasion might unfold.
He snapped.
Lech Walesa, who governed the country from 1990 to 1995, reportedly made the remarks while addressing a civic group in the town of Krosno. Much to the astonishment of those in attendance, the retired politician indicated that he has become a believer in the idea that intelligent extraterrestrials not only exist, but could pose a threat to the safety of Earth. This is really interesting. He actually went on to say that there are 3 levels of intellectual development in other galaxies, and sadly, the human species occupies the lowest tier, which we've pretty much talked about.
Okay, so all the levels, that's similar to like the Kardashev scale, kind of, right?
Yeah, sort of. I think that's what he was saying, and I think he was just saying that
compared to other beings, we are nothing.
We're really stupid, and that
how does he know that? Because like, what if like on one planet they're like worms?
Well, he doesn't know that. This is just his opinion. This isn't based on any factual
that's true
information that we know of.
Okay.
But he said that, we should be careful that if we do start getting visited by aliens, that they could be perilous for our planet. And should we try and challenge these aliens, they will interrupt us and cut us in half, and the Earth will collapse. He said such an invasion.
Half or cut just all of us in half? Come to each person and slice them in half.
No, I think he meant that more like figuratively, like they, or literally. I don't know what the context of that was, but he might think that like they might just wipe us out, because he said that such an invasion would set the human race back 5,000 years and would require us to basically rebuild our civilization from scratch.
Holy shit.
Which is really interesting. Another thought, like this whole alien thing, I really hope they're peaceful and that we can, coexist together. But there is a possibility that they might be hostile or want something on our planet. It's possible.
It is definitely possible. But I also, like I've said this before, but I feel like if they are a very intelligent species enough to be like traveling through space and like, they're probably way more advanced, then they probably are more tolerant and like. You
would think that, but I think that.
I guess it's not like humans.
No, and I think we've talked about this before, but I think, just like humans can be evil and be good.
What if they like enslave us?
I don't think that has anything. Yeah, I mean, that's a possibility.
I feel like they wouldn't just like kill us off.
Well, remember in the Joe Rogan interview with Tom DeLonge, remember he was like, there's a threat.
Yeah.
Like,
I think there is.
There's some type of.
Yeah, Joe. Yeah. If you guys haven't seen that podcast, that's really something that I recommend watching. Although I wasn't a super fan of the way that I love Joe Rogan. I do, but I did not like him in that podcast.
No, he's gotten very biased in recent years.
Well, he was it's okay to have a different opinion or doubt someone. He really doubted him, but then he started being like straight mean to him.
Yeah. Kind of making fun of him.
Yeah.
And stuff.
And just, it wasn't respectful, but that is a great podcast to listen to as far as Tom goes, because he has so much to share. And it really makes a lot of sense. Like, so much of what he says connects to all these other things. Like I always say, all these stories connect. We see the same things in, like, it's insane. Yeah. It's all coming together.
The themes are all connected.
It really feels like something's going to happen in the next like 5 to 10 years.
I believe so. I think there's something that's going to happen.
I do too.
I don't think that our life and civilization is going to continue on in the current way it is for the next 100
if you
years.
want to play like theories, conspiracy theories. I mean, Tom, people give him criticism because he has government involved with him. Like
right.
there are people working with him that are from the government. So maybe he's in on like a false flag.
Right. That's exactly the point I was going to make too is it's very possible that
this threat that they're talking about, because like Dr. Greer doesn't really talk about the threat. Not all UFOologists talk about them being threatening. A lot do.
Most kind of agree that it's a possibility.
Yeah, it's definitely a possibility. But I mean, the way Tom talks about it, he's like, there is a threat. And this guy's also in a government position or was. And he's talking about there's this threat. So maybe they really are planning like a false flag.
It's possible. Project Bluebeam.
Phoenix, calling it now.
Very possible. I mean, there's a lot.
Not actually calling that. Don't get scared, Phoenix people. I'm sorry.
No, I mean, this is a complete theory. Yeah, this is just a complete.
This is Kendall makes up things.
Either way, it's going to be crazy.
Yeah.
Better be ready.
It could happen anywhere.
I don't know what you're going to do, but.
Me?
No, not you. I know what we're going to do, but.
Oh, what are we going to do? We have a plan?
Yeah.
Someone asked us our doomsday prepping plans.
Yeah.
We don't have really much. Nah.
We just started our plans. We're starting to.
I can't live my life that way.
No, I'm not.
If I die, I die. That's it. I wouldn't want to live in a desolate world. Like the idea of like going into a bunker and then everything else dies and the world's a fucking disaster. And then I come out and get to deal with it all. No way.
You'd rather just move on.
Yes. 100%.
You don't want to experience it even for a little bit?
No. Nope. I don't like that. I'd be scared all the time. I'd be hungry and sad and cold. No.
I don't know. I might feel that way too, but I have this like survivalist inside of me that's like, that'd be so fun to like try to survive in a post-apocalyptic world.
Your idea of fun is so weird. If we have children, that's going to be a fucking nightmare.
All right, kids, you want to go with mom or you want to go with dad?
We're going together.
Well, not if you're just going to like opt out. You're going to be like, I'm done.
Oh.
Anyways, I don't know. I just thought that was interesting. So yeah, I mean, we talk about aliens and UFOs a lot because I think it's a very relevant issue and it's something that we all should be talking about because it could happen at any moment. I mean, for all we know, or it could not happen at all. And we could just all be talking about some fairy tale, some story.
Who knows?
But there's no way. Universe is too big. But yeah, I want to go ahead and get into the education system and explore that a bit. But before we do, I just want to thank our sponsors for today. Our first sponsor is Quip. They've been a loyal supporter of the show. One of the most important things we do for our health every day is brushing our teeth, yet most of us don't do it properly. Quip is a better electric toothbrush created by dentists and designers. Quip was designed to make your teeth more simple, affordable, and even enjoyable. Some of the great things about Quip is the toothbrush has very sensitive sonic vibrations, but it's like just enough to get that perfect clean on your tooth. Has a built-in 2-minute timer, which pulses like every 30 seconds. So you know when to switch side, up, down, which is really nice, as well as a multi-use cover that holds your freaking toothbrush for you. So it's not laying on the counter, getting all germ infested.
Their holder is awesome.
It is.
I don't even understand how it works. It's like this like weird sticky material. It's not even sticky though. I've tried to touch it and my hands don't stick to it, but it somehow sticks to like any mirror.
Any glass,
like,
yeah.
Yeah, or glass, I guess. Yeah. And it's really convenient. It kind of reminds me of like an Apple product or something. It looks like it's like that type of like it has the same texture as like a laptop, same material, right?
The aluminum. It's a really nice toothbrush.
Yeah,
it's my favorite electric toothbrush I've ever used.
Yeah,
and
Josh loves it.
I've used them all.
Yeah.
I really do love it. And it's backed by over 20,000 dental professionals, tons of verified 5-star reviews. So Quip starts at just $25. And if you go to getquip.com/milehigher right now, you get your first refill pack for free. That's another thing. They send your refill packs on a dentist recommended schedule. So you always have a fresh head on your toothbrush. And if you get that first refill pack for free, that is getquip.com/milehigher. We also want to thank ExpressVPN for sponsoring today's episode. Admit it, you think that cybercrime is something that happens to other people. You may think that no one wants your data or that hackers can't grab your passwords or credit card details, but you'd be wrong. Stealing data from unsuspecting people on public Wi-Fi is one of the simplest and cheapest ways for hackers to make money. Truth. When you leave your internet connection unencrypted, you might as well be writing your passwords and credit card numbers on a huge billboard for the rest of the world to see. That's why decided to take action and protect yourself from cyber criminals. That's why I use ExpressVPN. I got on my phone, I got on my laptop, because if you travel and you're out and about, it is very true. And I come from an IT background and I know how all this shit works, and it is actually very easy. It's a matter of like downloading a program on your computer. If you're a hacker, going and sitting on a public Wi-Fi, and then you can literally sit there and start capturing data packets that are going across the internet. And then, if you're smart, you know how to decode those packets, and you can grab usernames, passwords, very, very easily. So ExpressVPN actually secures all of your internet browsing and anonymizes it by hiding your public IP address. They also have apps for your phone, tablet. It's so easy to set up. I've worked with a lot of VPNs that are super complicated, but this is literally install in one click and then you're connected. For less than $7 a month, you can get the same ExpressVPN protection that I have. ExpressVPN is rated the #1 VPN service by TechRadar and comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Protect your online activity today and find out how you can get 3 months free at expressvpn.com/milehigher. That's expressvpn.com/milehigher for 3 months free with a 1-year package. Visit expressvpn.com/milehigher to learn more. All right.
Yo, this is interesting.
What do you got?
Just in the last 30 minutes, there's no majority for Brexit. They literally couldn't come to like a conclusion.
Really?
Yeah. It just came in crazy. No majority for anything. Sorry, just wanted to put that out there for our UK fans.
Breaking news. Brexit is at a standstill.
That sucks. God, that seems stressful over there.
Yeah.
I don't really understand it that much though, so it's hard.
Well, it's like pulling out of the European Union. They have like
I know what it is, but I don't
so.
understand like all the complications of it. It's confusing.
I'm not schooled to that.
Yeah.
But what I am schooled to is the U.S. public education system.
Yeah, that's where we went to school.
That's where we went to school. So,
Mess.
for those that don't know, in the U.S., you spend 13 years in just like public or primary school. It's called different things in other countries, but that's essentially kindergarten to 12th grade. It's 13 years. That's like required education.
Makes sense.
Unless you skip a grade, which I never understood kids that skip grades.
Why didn't you? Well, because they're smart.
That's smart. They can just like skip on a whole grade.
I had a crush on this boy in 4th grade and he got moved, or no, it was 5th grade. He got moved to 6th grade. I didn't get to see him all year.
Oh, that's heartbreaking.
Really sad. Yep. Bye-bye. Too smart.
But on average, you spend 180 days every school year. That's half the years spent in school.
Wow. That's a lot.
Because you're there Monday through Friday in the U.S.
A huge part of our lives.
Yeah, it's a very huge part of your life. And then when you add college onto that, I mean, you're pushing like 17 to 20 years in college.
Yeah, I'm so glad I'm done. Whew.
And for a lot of us, I mean, if we're lucky to make it to 80 years old, that's a quarter of your life in school.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of time. And that's why I think it's important to talk about all this, because I think there's a lot of major issues with it. And I think there's a lot of things that can be done to, elevate our public education system and, not only by making kids smarter and more successful, which then in turn helps the entire country, but there's just a lot of things that are kind of like old school still. Old school, funny.
Old school.
That need to be updated. Because a lot of people don't know this, but the United States and I think pretty much the rest of the world kind of adopted a similar style of schooling. Obviously, in like Asian countries, it's really intense, more test based there, really stressful there. And then like
it's
UK,
very like number based,
Yeah.
like scoring you, which it's kind of like that
very
in the US too.
competitive.
But yeah, very competitive over there. There's a lot of them though. Like you have to be competitive.
Yeah,
There's only so many like jobs and slots.
it's true. But then again, they have like major problems with like kids just like opting out of life and stuff. Like they can't handle the stress.
Oh, I know. Sorry.
It's
I didn't
bad,
know what
like-
you meant by opting out. I thought you meant opting out of school.
Yeah, no.
Oh, that's sad.
Yeah. So, I
Yeah.
mean, it's a real issue. And I mean, that happens to kids here even,
Yeah.
obviously. But what's interesting is when you look at the actual education system as a whole and you think about how did we even get to where we are today and why is it laid out the way that it is? Why do we learn things the way that we do? The history of the United States public education system goes back years and years and years ago. And what's crazy is that we literally haven't changed the model of our education since the very first public school opened in 1635. The Boston Latin School was the first public school in the United States. It's crazy to think about that. We still use the type of education is called the Prussian model.
Yeah, I remember learning this when I was for those of you, I guess I should say this. For those of you that don't know, I was in elementary education trying to become an elementary teacher for 3 years.
I meant to do this before we jumped into the
I guess we should kind of explain,
understand us a little bit more and why we're talking about this.
Yeah, I guess we should both explain our experience a little bit. So I grew up very different than Josh because I was a struggler in school. I tried really hard. Like I was a good student. I didn't get in trouble or anything. I tried my best, but I have learning disabilities. And so I was in a lot of like special education, in elementary school and middle school. And then in high school, I chose not to take the extra help, which now looking back, I was like, that was dumb. I should have done that because I had an IEP, which, allows you to have extra time, individual education plan.
Right.
And that allows you to like have more times on tests and stuff like that. So yeah. And
so what about high school and college? Go into that.
Yeah. In high school, I did everything. I didn't have any special education in high school because of my choice. My parents let me decide if I wanted it.
Like good grades. Like you got.
Yeah. I left school with a 2.9, I think.
2.9.
Yeah. Not terrible.
B's and C's.
Yeah.
Occasional D.
Yeah. Algebra was really hard for me.
I was going to say, what subjects were
Algebra.
Math.
Algebra killed me. I failed it one year. I had to go back and do summer school. I had tutors. Like math was really, really hard for me. Reading's hard for me. So anything that was like read a chapter or something and like take a test, I was like just bombed it. And then the essay, or did we take, what do we take?
CSAPs.
ACT? No.
CSAPs was a standardized test every year, then ACTs.
Yeah, ACTs. I like literally barely even tried on that. I gave up on the last section because it was so hard, the math and the science. I was like, I can't even do this. And they told us that the best thing you can do is just like fill in C. So I filled in C for all of them and turned it in. I was like, fuck it. And I slept for the last like part of it because I was like, I'm going to have to retake this. Like my parents are definitely going to make me retake it. But I didn't have to because remember the day before I was supposed to retake the ACT, I got accepted to school.
Yes, I do remember that. Right. You got your acceptance letter.
Yeah. I called my mom, was like, I don't have to take it.
Yes, I do remember that day. Yep. Which, by the way, for those that don't know, we met in high school. So
yes, we did meet in high school.
We were 17, senior year of high school. We dated. So we got to be together when we were both in school, which was kind of fun. So
yeah, kind of see each other in that younger stage. But then
what did you like though in school? Just so people know, like what topics did you enjoy? You liked history, right?
I actually love history. Yeah. I still like history because it's interesting. It was like real situations that I can like imagine and
stories that you can think about.
I can remember them and there's like a rhyme or reason to it. And I like that in English. I liked creative writing. Like I'm not a good reader, but I'm a good writer. Not handwriting. I have terrible handwriting, but I'm like a creative person. So I was always good at writing like papers and things like that. But yeah, when I went into college, I decided to go into elementary education.
Which explain how you were involved in that while you were in high school too.
Yes. Sorry. I keep forgetting everything. I did a year of working in an elementary school, my senior year of high school. So that's what got me wanting to work in an elementary school. I worked in a second grade classroom and just like fell in love with it. Like had such a good time. I still have like a book that all the kids made me with like they all put their pictures in. They all drew a picture with a little poem. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
I have it upstairs in my office.
Which elementary in the US is K-5 or K-6, depending on what state you live in.
Yep.
Which ages range, I mean, what age you start kindergarten and finish through 5th grade? Like
I don't know.
5 to 10, 11 maybe?
Know. Yeah.
Somewhere in there?
I don't know.
12, 6th grade, 12
Honestly,
or 13, 6th grade.
Sorry, so that inspired me to go into education. I wanted to be a second grade teacher because I loved second grade. And I was really into it. And I did pretty well in college. Like I got good grades in college. I always like got a 3.0 or higher. I was doing pretty decent. Because you get kicked out of the sorority if you don't, or you have to go to the study thing. And I was like, fuck that. I'm not going to go to study tables. Yeah. No. So I think one semester I had to go because I like had one bad semester and just tanked some class.
Did you enjoy like learning about the elementary education? Like, what'd you think of that?
I really liked it. So I was in it for 3 years. Like I was at the point where you're about to start student teaching almost. So it was a big decision to like decide to change my major, which I did it for YouTube because I was really like, I loved it. I was like, I want to do something with this. So I switched to communications just in case. Cause I was like, even if I don't do YouTube, I'll maybe do something with communication stuff. Cause I just fell in love with like social media and like storytelling, like interacting with people. I don't know. And I started to just feel like, I don't know, I felt really overwhelmed by it all of a sudden, like learning about, cause like when I was in high school, I came into the elementary school and when I was there, it was like playtime. It was like reading time. We weren't doing really hard stuff. So I started thinking about how much these kids would be like depending on me to learn. And I started getting really bad anxiety because Josh knows this about me. I have really like low self-esteem when it comes to like intelligence. I get like, just because I was like pretty bullied in elementary school for like not being able to read and
you had a learning disorder. So obviously, you know, you might be a little bit slower pace than others as far as your learning goes, but that doesn't make your intelligence less than somebody else.
I know. And like, I know that now, but like for a long time, I just thought I was really kind of dumb.
Yeah.
So I thought
I can understand that. Sure.
That's what I grew up thinking. Like, because, well, first of all, I was in an out of district school for a while. When I first went into elementary school, my parents,
you never went to a charter or private school, right? No. It was purely public.
Yeah. I went to all public school, but my parents liked a different school than the one I was supposed to go to. So they like applied out of district. And it was a different school district. Right. And that's where they found that I had a learning disability. And for the first through third grade, it was fine. Like I was able to just work with their special needs people, but then they were like, I don't know, maybe it had something to do with like our towns changing, like literally the towns changed names.
They redraw the lines on the cities and the districts all the time.
Something like that. And budget changed and they were no longer allowed to do special needs for out of district kids.
Right.
So my parents had to move me to a different school district. So I left all my friends and it was like a pretty bad experience because I didn't make any friends. Like I had a couple friends, but it was a really weird experience. That's a whole nother fucking story. But yeah, I was kind of bullied by the other girls in my class. I had one teacher that I felt was bullying me. Like I swear, she was mean to me. She was mean. Like I would go down to I'd spend a lot of time in the special ed room. So I would leave they would get you in front of everyone. Like, hey, come on, special kids, come with me. They would literally be like, my group or the special group, come on. It's like, and it's like, I don't think they do that as much anymore, but I used to be so like mortified by it. Like all the other kids would watch you and be like, why are you special? Like, what the fuck? Where are you going?
Trying to like figure out to themselves.
Like what's wrong with her? Like,
well, they never, and I think that was a mistake that they probably don't make anymore, but
no, they're much more discreet about it now
and more inclusive. And like, so kids understand what's actually happening. Like from my perspective, I never understood what those kids were doing. I was just like, where are they taking them? Why are they leaving?
And then we'd be doing different stuff than what you guys are doing oftentimes. Like we would go down and do something different or work on something. And then I would come back to the class once I was done with that. And the teacher would look at me like, what do you want me to do with you? Like we're in the middle of doing something else. And I remember one time I came in and they were working on something to do with the heart, like learning the different parts of the heart, and they were building something. And I came in and like went to the teacher, like, can I start making the heart or like whatever? Like I thought I was, and she was just like, oh, you don't need to. We're almost done. And I literally just like sat at my desk for like an entire class period, just watching everyone else. And I never like learned about the heart. They just like, there was a lot of things that I just missed because I was out of the classroom or like the teachers weren't communicating with each other. In middle school, my special ed person pretty much just fed us the answers. Like we would leave for a test. She'd be like, all right, my group, come on. And then we would raise our hands. We'd take it as a group. And it would be like, raise your hand if you think you know. And if we were wrong, like if we said it and we were wrong, they'd be like, maybe it's a different thing. Anyone else? Until someone got it. And then the whole group would answer the same thing.
Wow. So
it was so like force fed that I really missed a lot of stuff. And I was like really behind by the time I got to high school.
I feel like that didn't even like help you that much, honestly.
it helped me with like getting my handwriting down somewhat and reading. And I don't know. I spent a lot of time. I'd like to think it helped me with something.
I always wondered why they never like figured out a way to see where everybody's at and then like put people in classes accordingly.
Yeah. Like it seems like if there's 4 5th grade classes, there should be 4 different levels.
Yeah. Like within the grade.
Yeah.
And
so that there's not like a kid that's way behind. Because then you
I've never understood that.
In a classroom, like when I worked in the elementary classroom, we would like split the whole class into color groups for reading based on reading levels. So it'd be like yellow, green, red, or whatever.
Yeah.
And like you could tell, I always felt bad for the green group, you know, they're like, because I was the green group and like I could kind of tell some of them were like, oh,
yeah, I do remember that now that you say that. I
Yeah.
totally remember that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I forget what group I was in.
Because like they would be reading like a book that's like the dog walked out to the car, like something like that,
right.
Versus, you know, the red group's reading Big Treehouse or
like chapter books
Nancy
already.
Drew or something.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Magic Treehouse. I mean, sorry.
And I think a lot of times they do their best to, you know, cater to kids that, you know, may
it's
need a
definitely
little
not
bit
the
more
teacher's
help.
fault. And I want to make sure we're clear with that throughout this whole thing. We are talking about the system and what teachers are given to work with.
The
like
structure, the layout of school. We're not attacking individual positions by any means. Cause
no, I don't blame
they're
my
all
special
different.
needs teachers. I blame that one teacher that was rude to me though.
But I mean, yeah, if you're
I
rude
saw her
to
at a
kids,
yoga class one time. I literally like wanted to leave. I was like, holy fuck, I don't want to even see her. It scared me. I didn't like her. But anyway, so I wanted to go into this teaching thing, but then I decided that, you know, it was a little overwhelming being in charge of people's educations. Cause I was like, what if I have a student that's like really, really smart, that they literally are smarter than me? Who knows?
that's a legitimate fear, honestly.
And the testing and stuff, like we started talking about standardized testing and I was just like, I don't know. And I loved YouTube. So I switched. But yeah, I was in it for a long time, but I think the most that I learned was not in college. I learned the most through experience for sure. Like what sticks with me was that time in 2nd grade in the high school where I worked in the 2nd grade. And then one time or a couple times in college, we went to a school and spent time there. And those times were they taught me more than the actual like classes did, you know?
Yeah.
So,
well, you're essentially like, you've told me you're relearning like math and science at those grade levels.
yeah, you are, but you're also learning how to teach. Yeah. It's really kind of hard. You know, it's funny. I went into it thinking it was going to be so easy.
A lot of people do.
Oh, a ton
I think teaching is just going to be a breeze and you're going to, you know, be able to teach a whole class. No problem.
Yeah. Especially if it's elementary ed. Like if you're like, oh, cause I'll only need to know as much as an elementary schooler does. Like whatever. No, I had to take 3 math classes, 3 science classes, and one of them was hard. Josh took it with me and he almost like got a C. So that says a lot.
Yeah, it was very hard.
I almost failed that shit.
That was ridiculous.
It was so hard. But yeah, I was not prepared. And there was no electives. I didn't get to pick anything else to do. It was all structured education classes.
God.
But anyway, I've talked enough about myself. Now listen to Josh. His experience is pretty interesting as well. Because it's completely different than mine.
It's completely differently because A, I'm a different type of student, but B, I have a very unique situation where I grew up in a household with 2 parents that just so happen to be teachers and educators for their entire career. So from a very young age, I was, you know, both my brother and I, we went through preschool, which some kids don't do preschool, which I mean, I don't know. I think it's kind of optional, but then, you know, you get into kindergarten and all of that. But my parents had, you know, major into education. I mean, they both have college degrees. They both have master's degrees. My mom is like one of the most studious people I know. She's extremely intelligent, could honestly takes her job extremely seriously. And yeah, I mean, she's now like a superintendent for a school district. I mean, she's been teaching for 20 plus years, but anyways, they pushed me very hard as a kid, as far as education and learning, which I'm honestly very thankful for, that I did have those types of parents that really did care about my education. But I mean, there's a flip side to that. But, you know, I grew up and I was what you would call a gifted and talented student.
GT
kids.
Why do they say that? Like, so what are the rest of us? If you're gifted and talented, we're just like plain and boring, trash and boring, average and
it's really
trash.
bad. I mean, because They do call it GT. I think thinking they're going to fool kids that don't know what that means.
No, I knew what that meant. I had friends in GT.
I wonder what'd you guys think of Gifted and Talented? Were you like,
well, I didn't know what they did in my head because my friend Kristen was in GT. So I always thought they for some reason, I thought they went off and built things. Like I could have sworn that it was they would go and make inventions. That's what I thought they were doing.
yes, we actually all go to a lab.
I could have
We do a bunch of
Or
experiments.
maybe she was also in a thing called Imagineers or something. I don't know.
But it was it was only for part of the day. And I don't even remember if it was every day.
So GT is honestly pretty much like this. It's the same experience that I had with going to my special ed room. True. You had with going to being taken out and going to a different room to learn.
I go to the freaking mobile trailer outside.
Yeah.
That's where they had our little
I had a mobile trailer at one point too. I had a bunch of different classrooms, but
it was really just where you would go and you would spend extra time getting ahead on stuff. So I would go out there for math or
so you would bring your current work there.
No, I got so basically most of the gifted and talented kids were kids that got all of their normal workload done in class and were bored. So I would literally finish all my work before I even went home. So I didn't even have homework for a lot of years because I would get through all my work and I'd be sitting at my desk twiddling my thumbs all right, what now? And my teacher would be like, I got nothing.
Dude, I would bring home one math assignment in third grade and me and my mom would fight. We'd get in it would be horrible. I would get so frustrated. She would get so frustrated with me trying to teach me math facts.
Oh, I'm sure.
Oh my God. I was I couldn't do anything.
Did she do flashcards with you and stuff?
Oh yeah. She would tape them up. My mom tried really hard with me and it was hard for her because she's not that great. Well, she was an engineer. So
she clearly knows math. Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know. She got really frustrated with me. I was and I had ADD. So I was looking around. It's so hard for me to concentrate even now.
Yeah.
Josh knows that about me now. Can you imagine me as a child trying to do math facts?
Bing. Yeah. It'd be hard.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I get why they had these types of programs. It makes sense because, I was probably a nerd in school.
Did you feel when you were in the classroom in the GT classroom, you'd come back and you kind of had missed anything? Did you ever feel you were excluded?
No, I came back puffing my chest,
you fucking
walking through
what a Virgo.
Walking in. But then again, I wasn't the smartest gifted and talented kid by any means. I actually got caught cheating on my homework or cheating on a math test.
I remember you told me about that.
And my mom freaked out at me. Yeah.
Shameful.
Because I'm a sneaky.
I've never cheated.
I'm a sneaky Scorpio.
Just kidding.
But
I do not condone cheating.
Yeah,
it's very bad, but I definitely did once or twice as a kid.
Yeah. But then I went on and did the spelling bee. I was that kind of student. And then I did the geography bee. So I think the reason why I did so well in school is because our school and our education system is really based on memorization. A lot of it is on memorization. And if you're not able to remember things and memorize things very easily, school's a bitch.
Yeah, and it feels like a giant waste because you're just constantly filling your brain up and dumping it, filling your brain up and dumping
brain
it.
Dumps. That's all it is.
You don't even, by the end of the year, you barely can remember what you even learned in the whole year. It's insane. And then by the time you're our age, you definitely don't remember any of it.
No, I mean.
I remember very few things, seriously.
It's really crazy to think about because why do we spend this much time in school when we're just brain dumping information and then, 20, 30 years later, we literally don't remember shit. So it's I guess it's kind of ingraining that information into your brain, but why should we spend that much time on all of the shit if we don't remember it anyways? Why are they continuing to make people go through years and years and years of memorizing stuff? Which
obviously we do need education, but the approach to it, I think, is wrong.
That's what I'm saying. It's the approach to it. It's
I'm just clarifying.
Because if you think about it, as students, a lot of us, when we go through college is the same type of way. A ton of it's memorization, memorizing shit, and then being able to either be quiz tested or, being able to write about something. But, in reality, when you get into the workforce, you start realizing so much of learning about what your career is and what your job is comes from actually doing the fucking job. You learn more doing the job on the job than you do in school. So it's
True.
Maybe we're spending too much time in the books and trying to memorize stuff as opposed to actually doing the things that we have to know how to do in order to have a career and make it in our society.
Right.
Just a thought.
Mm-hmm.
But
I
anyways,
know what you're saying.
let me finish up my background real quick. So throughout school, which interesting fact about me, I moved a lot as a kid. I moved all over the place because my parents were teachers. The way that teaching jobs are is there's oftentimes shortages of them. So my parents actually had to move around the country. Like I was born in Las Vegas and we lived there for a little while. And then we moved to Colorado and then we moved to Oklahoma and we moved a bunch of times. And I actually ended up going to like 7 schools throughout my whole childhood. And yeah, I was the new kid like 7 times, which
I did it one time and I hated it so much.
Can you imagine?
No, it like scarred me. Like I still get upset about it to this day.
Oh, thank God it didn't scar me though. Cause yeah, I mean, it's hard. It's extremely hard. And luckily I'm an extremely adaptable person because of it. And I adapt extremely well in any type of environment. So I credit that experience to that. But what's also great is I did get a large amount of different variety as far as the types of schools I went to. I never went to private or a charter school, but I did go to a bunch of different types of public schools as far as like the demographics go. Like I went to, an inner city school. I went to, a more of a suburban school. And then I went to a rural community school.
You really have gotten a taste of it all.
I've tasted it all. So I'm sure
Tasted it all.
I've literally tasted it all. Pretty much covers like the full spectrum, I think, of schools. So yeah, I had a very interesting experience. And actually when I was in high school, my mother was actually my principal. If you can only imagine that, she, sitting in class and then, hello students, like
it's your mom
giving the morning announcements. And like, it was bizarre to sit in there and like, crazy. As a high schooler, you're kind of like, oh, fuck my parents. I don't want anything to do with them, but I could never escape it. Cause kids would just turn their heads and stare at me like, Josh, that's your mom. I'm like, yeah, I know it's my mom. Thanks. So yeah, that was a very interesting experience. So yeah, I mean, and my parents were like hovering over me as far as school goes. And obviously I couldn't get away with shit with like missing assignments or anything. So I attribute I think I would have been a good student even if I had your parents, but I don't think I would have pushed quite as hard as I did without my parents. Does that make sense? Like
maybe not quite as hard, but my dad pushed me pretty hard. My parents definitely.
No, I'm not saying that they didn't push you, but I'm just saying
they every year would say like no C's. Like that wasn't. I couldn't have a C. Yeah. One year I got grounded as fuck for having a C in math. By like junior year, they kind of gave up with like trying to make me get all B's and A's. But like, yeah, they definitely pushed me. I had to go to tutoring and all. Yeah.
Well, and I think as a parent,
they really helped me too. Like both of my parents, I give them mad credit for helping me with homework, trying to help. My dad would help me with history and my mom would help me with like kind of math. And
we were both fortunate to have parents that cared about our education and wanted to push us and see us succeed.
Not everyone has that.
No, not everybody has that. And that's a major problem in schools today is like so many kids just don't have involved parents or parents that can even help them with homework and stuff. So it's a real challenge. But yeah, I mean, I think you're right. I think if I had been, even if your dad was, my dad as a kid, he probably would have realized the potential. I think as a parent, you realize your children's potential.
He would have been thrilled with you. Thrilled.
They're like, oh, I play sports.
He would be like, all right, who cares about Kendall? She'll be fine.
She'll figure it out.
Whatever, as long as Josh is okay.
True.
I'm just kidding. My dad's not like that at all. But I think, would have loved you as a son. He wanted a son.
Yeah, he did. But anyways.
Wow.
No, I love that statement. I know.
That was such a like tangent. Sorry, guys. This is a really kind of laid back episode because we are talking a lot of discussion.
Well, yeah, a lot of it's just like our experiences. And I think this episode gives you a really good perspective on who we are as people and our backgrounds and just, why we're as smart as we are.
Yeah.
But anyways, like as I was going through, middle school and high school, I was always like kind of like ahead of the game as far as my learning and stuff. And in high school, actually, my last 2 years of high school, I took college classes. I was at the community college for a couple days a week in my junior year. But then senior year, I literally didn't step foot in my high school unless I absolutely had to.
That's so funny.
And I literally was at the community college near my high school taking all college courses when I was like 17 years old. So yeah, I mean, I got a jump start on college and everything, but I mean, that's a whole nother thing with college is I basically had to, kind of figure it out on my own. My parents didn't really offer me a ton of help when it came time for college to kind of, there was a lot more factors that played into it as far as that
it's
time
hard to
period.
understand that story without like literally talking about it for like 25 minutes.
No, I know. I literally could do a whole episode just on my.
But yeah, that was a really stressful time because we didn't know if Josh would he couldn't afford college, couldn't get loans.
Well, that's one of the big problems is money. Like it costs a lot of money to go to college, and
crazy.
And I was literally groomed to go to college, like a big school. Like both my parents went to CU, which is a huge university in Colorado, and I wanted to do a similar type of thing. And I had gotten into CSU and into the computer science program there, and I was super excited about it. And then my parents just like completely abandoned me when it came time to just sign some loans, which would allow me to get the money I needed in order to attend the school. So I had to go a completely different route than most people go. And
that sounds, I'm sure, really confusing. Like, why would teachers do that? But like, there's a lot more to this story that you don't understand. Like, it had to do with us and our relationship and a bunch of other things that it would just take too long to explain. But it wasn't like they just randomly didn't want him to go to school.
No,
it was more of like a control thing.
It was a control and a religious issue with my parents because, as I've talked about in other episodes, I grew up in a very conservative Christian home and very, very Christian home. And, there was this whole problem with Kendall not being a Christian and everything. And we'll save that for another day. But that kind of
and it's not an issue now. We've really moved past this. So it's kind of weird to talk about it now, but
it is. But anyways, I had to figure out college on my own. I ended up going to community college for 2 years. And then I ended up going and finishing my degree pretty much online. I took a semester at her college just for fun, pretty much.
Yeah. That was fun.
But yeah, we essentially both graduated with our bachelor's degrees, and
it was so fun taking a class together.
So that's kind of a little bit of a background of our, experience with education. Obviously very different, but a lot of similarities too. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to just talk about like the beginning of our education system and kind of the history, because it makes a lot of sense as to why things are set up the way that they are. Because literally it's been set up this way over 100 years ago, and we still, have textbooks. I think textbooks are kind of being phased out, but we still have this whole idea of, memorization and testing and standard testing and things like that, that goes back years and years and years. And a lot of people say that this reason for this, Prussian, model was that at that time period, the main controversy with it is it kind of crushes the individual, and it crushes that creativity and the ability for an individual to kind of stand out and be who they are.
Yeah,
versus
absolutely.
Kind of falling in line and this, conforming to the system and the standards that we want in order to prepare you for the jobs that we want you to do. Does that make sense? Like that's this whole idea that, our education system is the way that it is supposed to prepare us for entering the rat race, as it's called.
Yeah. And it's like the brainwashing begins.
Exactly.
Think about all the bullshit we've learned. Like, I loved history, but like so much of what I learned was such swayed bullshit. Like, it wasn't not true. Some of it may not have been true, but it's not that it wasn't factual. It was that there's just so much missing from the story that just was purposely left out of a lot of things.
Well, think about it. It's extremely easy for them to create the narrative that they want to.
Well, other countries do the same thing.
Yeah,
they'll
exactly.
it's propaganda.
Right. It totally is.
So school's like a way for the government to have more control over people as well.
And the knowledge that they have, as well as the skills that they have, the interest they can literally control everything. And they're starting to, it's getting worse and worse and worse because they're pulling out even more of those things that makes an individual who they are, like the electives courses.
Yes.
That's like starting to go away.
I remember like some languages have been cut, arts have been cut, music has been cut, PE in some places has been cut. And that's so, it really is taking away what makes you you and trying to just put a number on you.
Yeah,
like
it's
score.
Like your worker number 5 or your slave number 5,
Well, I meant like score you based on your test results and stuff. Like you're just
very robotic. Yeah.
It's like a ranking system
You're
of
a number in a system.
All the peoples.
That's really what it is. And yet we're failing to realize so many other things that makes a human who they are and the abilities that they have, and tapping into, you know, so many other talents that never even get discovered. I mean, think about all the people that could have been the next this, the next that, and they ended up being nothing, or, you know, not nothing, but they ended up just being kind of your average whatever, you know. So I think there's a lot of missed opportunity with the way that the system's currently set up, is what I'm saying.
Definitely. Sorry, I had a point. That's why I think it would be nice to send our kids to Montessori school, but it's like so expensive. It's ridiculous. But I don't know that much about it, so I really can't say.
I was gonna say, I
really don't know.
More to it than
I just thought it was like a school where they have like all these different electives and like things like different exploration, or like they'll
more
hone
emphasis
you
on the arts and things like that.
Yeah.
Which there are schools like that. Like my cousins, they live in New York City and they go to like but that's a private, right? That is a private school. So
and I don't want my kids to like not have that experience that I did of public school and being thrown in with everyone, you know?
Well, I think it prepares you better for the real world.
I think so too. But at the same time, there's so many things. Honestly, I'm so scared of schools these days with like shootings and everything. Like I don't even want to send my kids to school. Like freaks me out. I know, but I can't homeschool them.
So many people homeschool.
I guess after 3 years of education, maybe I'll be able to. I don't know. Maybe when they're really young, but they're going to quickly outsmart me.
But that's what I'm saying is like they're, you know, as they're starting to, a lot of schools are because of budget cuts and things like that is what they say the reason is they have to remove arts, music, things like that. But so many of those things are really important to not only civilization, but just important to, you know, the individual.
Yeah, because everyone isn't like, we're all put on this earth, I believe, with different talents and different, like a different destiny and things we're supposed to do. And if you're just putting everyone into like one box and then just saying, screw everyone else's talents, that's really unfair. And it's really sad that like things like art and language and stuff aren't like valued as much.
No, they're not. I mean, those are the first things to get cut, including like physical education gets cut.
Mm-hmm. And then it's so sad that like, I mean, just in our world, like a lot of people that want to become like actors or artists or music, it's a hard road. Like you can do it, but it's hard. Like you're going to have to work your ass off and be really, really good.
Right.
And even then it's like, there's not a lot of money in it. So it's like, it's hard.
And guess who are getting those jobs that are so hard to get?
Who?
The kids that go to the specialized private schools that have the money to invest in that.
You're so right. That's
versus
so true.
Your everyday kids, you know, just like normal kids that go to a normal school, normal public school, where they might not have access to that. They're missing out. And think about how many of those kids are just as talented as the ones in the private school, and they are, you know, unable to do that or, you know, financially.
You're right.
Because their parents can't afford it. And these kids are, you know, and that's the main problem too, is like, I think our education system is slowly but surely splitting the population into two groups. You know, you've got like I think we've talked about before, the middle class of this country and many countries is starting to be diminished and starting to go away because, you know, more and more people are, the wealth gap is getting bigger and bigger. So, you know, a lot of private school kids and things like that kind of fall into this elite group, and, you know, that's getting bigger. Meanwhile, the kids that are, oh God, it's all right.
What is that?
They can't hear it. It's the,
I know.
Roomba.
Oh, is that the vacuum? Oh, something is like banging upstairs. I thought like someone was breaking in. Oh my God, that scared me so bad.
No, it did too. When I started hearing, I was like, what the hell is that?
Oh God, the Roomba's so loud.
Oh, I hate the Roomba, but I love it at the same time. But you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, that's why I think things are, you know, why I feel there's some major failings with the current education system. Not only it's outdated, but it's starting to favor the more well-off kids and families versus the less privileged ones. And I like to think myself as one of those people, because my schooling wasn't paid for. And when talking about college, I didn't have the money to go to college. And I had to take on that entire financial burden on myself. Meanwhile, there's other kids that we know that literally went to school on and their parents paid for everything, and they have no, you know, obligation. And some of those kids fail out or don't take it seriously. Meanwhile, I'm like busting my ass, working a job, like saving my money so that I can get further my education. And I think there's a major issue with our country in that we don't give the people, you know, the people less fortunate or with less opportunity, more opportunities and more assistance.
I know.
Yeah. That's what's crazy to me, is that it's just,
well, too much of our budget is going to military. That's like the bottom line, and some other things too, but not enough of our budget is going to education.
Well, that's a great point. So this will kind of blow your mind, but when talking about the actual budget for education in the United States, so according to the federal budget in 2015, military expenditures accounted for about 54% of our discretionary spending.
Wow.
In contrast, education accounted for only 6%. So to put that in a number form, defense and military spending was $598.5 billion versus education was $70 billion. So in America, the federal government does not clearly provide that much money to the education system for all the states. They leave that up to the state and local governments to essentially pay for it. The problem is, though, is that the states are having to cut their budgets and the local governments are having to cut their budgets in order to do other things, because there's other things that are coming before education as far as priorities of things to do. And so the local and state governments don't have the ability to provide the funding for the school districts, and which is then creating a long list of chain reaction events that are detrimental to the system. And which is one of the biggest failings, I think, is the money aspect to it. The fact that we spend so much more on defense and military blows my mind, when we should be spending, even if we spent, an additional
like
100 billion or $200 billion of that 600 billion.
Yeah.
How much impact that would be.
Make. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because that's the thing.
But isn't there like a systematic pushing down of the people that in a way we don't get budgets for that because they don't want everyone to succeed and they want people to stay down?
It's very possible. I mean, I think
it's just a thought.
Well, I think you're on to it that, we've talked about the military industrial complex being a major factor in just the world in this country, especially that military is always first. And we've talked about how there's like so much money missing from the Department of Defense's budget, and which could be all these other programs that are going on. But it's crazy that the federal government's not giving education any more than it is, because it definitely needs it. Because the problem is that the federal government has to take that 70 billion, then distribute it to the states. And then the states have to take the money, and there's tons and tons of people in this country, hundreds of millions of people. I think there's like 50 million students or something. And then the state government has to then give that to the local, and then the local has to give it to the districts. And the problem is that without, we can fund it one of two ways. We can have the federal government start, giving more money to education, which a lot of politicians have been trying to do, but it never seems to happen, because otherwise the state and local governments have to raise taxes on it. So we have to pay even more taxes. This is part of, our tax money. And we've talked about, our tax money goes to the schools and stuff, or a bit of it goes to the schools.
Yeah.
I mean, even not as much. So many school districts are running on extremely low budgets, low funds.
Like barely the skin of their teeth getting by.
Which is just destroying them.
Yeah. And it's creating so much stress on the educators, which is causing them to maybe not be at their full potential as a teacher.
Absolutely
which
not.
is causing our students not be at their full potential, and so on and so forth. It's really bad. And this is how we're going to get taken over by another country. Who is it? Is it China that their schools are incredible?
Yeah. I mean, it's all the Asian countries, Japan, China, Singapore, are among the top in the world. But actually some of the most top ranking countries are actually the Nordic countries, Finland, Iceland, Denmark, and the Netherlands. And I mean, a lot of people are like, well, there's way less people there, so they have less to worry about. And that's true. But then again, my point goes back to this whole military budget. Why is it so big, and why is the education one so small? The government should be helping, the citizens of the future, like these kids, and, helping fill all of these roles that need to be filled, all these jobs that need to be filled with educated people. And they're just not. And it's the same thing with we were ranked 26 on a list or 27th in the world when you consider the U.S.'s investments in healthcare and education. And education and healthcare, I believe, go hand in hand with each other. And many of these countries that are doing better than us, the UK does better than us, Canada does better than us, Finland's like one of the top ones in the world. They have free healthcare for people. And, you know, that's, why don't we have that here? I mean, again, can't we pull some money out of that defense budget and stop building as many bombs or whatever and put that towards education and healthcare for people?
Be nice, but
because that's the thing, is a lot of people can't afford that, and the poverty among Americans and a lot of kids are even in poverty. I mean, kids just going to college. I was watching a video, and there's like people living out of their cars just so that they can pay for their school, their college tuition.
Insane.
It's crazy.
Yeah. My cousin was just telling me she's in grad school right now for like psychology, and you have to do like an unpaid internship for it could possibly be paid, but it's like, it's for a long time. It's like 30 hours a week. And yeah, it's unpaid. Where was I going with this?
What?
I'm so
No,
sorry.
her internship, the internship she's doing is
I'm so
unpaid.
sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, duh. Sorry, I started to think about the hours of it. But she was saying that a lot of people have to quit their jobs in order to keep up with school and the internship, and they have to take out loans to just get through
That's crazy.
life. Like they're literally just taking out loans to like pay their rent and shit.
Yeah, and that's many college graduates as well.
Yeah,
come out,
I know.
can't get a job,
You basically sell your soul to school. It's crazy.
and then you're enslaved to the banks, because then you owe the banks all this money, and the government gives you loans. Of course, the government will be like, here, we'll loan you money so you can go to college.
Yeah.
But then you owe us this money plus interest, and the interest rates are like through the roof. It's crazy. It's crazy how much it costs. But I wanted to talk about some of the things we can do to fix the education system, as well as talk just a little bit about the recent scandal with the colleges, because that shit's crazy. But before we do, I want to thank our last sponsor today, Calm. Stress is a worldwide epidemic, as we've been talking about. We're working longer hours, we're inundated with constant news cycle, and we're more connected than ever before.
Yeah.
Stress is a part of life that can very easily affect our overall well-being. Number one thing that affects all of us is stress, I think.
Yeah, they think stress may even cause like serious diseases, like cancer.
And what's feeding our stress levels? The rat race, and this idea of like, working for the man or working for the corporations and, just getting that paycheck. We're a slave to the paycheck. Many of us, we have to get that money. So
very high stress.
It is. So that's why we're partnering with Calm, the #1 app to help you reduce your anxiety and stress and help you sleep better. More than 40 million people around the world have downloaded it. If you head to calm.com/milehigher, you'll get 25% off a Calm premium subscription, which includes guided meditations on issues like anxiety, stress, and focus, including a brand new meditation each day. There's sleep stories, which are bedtime stories for adults designed to help you relax. Head to the magical lavender fields of southern France with Stephen Fry, or explore the moonlit jungles of Africa with Leona Lewis. They even have soothing music and more. They have breathing exercises, so you can use it at work. You can listen to some of the ambient music at work. And right now, Mile Higher listeners get 25% off the Calm premium subscription at calm.com/milehigher. That's CALM.com/milehigher. Get unlimited access to all of Calm's content today.
That's a really good deal, guys. It's super awesome. I've had their premium, like I was a customer and actually bought it myself, and it's so good.
It is. It's totally worth it. I mean, it's not that much, and all of these things have been proven to help you with anxiety and stress and sleep. I mean, sleep is another way to deal with it.
There's sleep stories on there and
get better sleep.
Very cool.
But there was just a couple things I wanted to mention about, like, we've talked about some of the failures of the education system, and especially public education. Like, here's just a couple things that teachers and students kind of agree on that we need to do. Like, why do we have this 2 to 3 month break in the summer? Like, why do they make this huge break in between years of school?
I don't know. It doesn't make any sense.
Why don't they actually, and they've been doing this for years, like since the beginning of time, they've been doing this. Why wouldn't you break up breaks? Like, there should be a break every quarter.
I think that's so that you could have like a summer job or like travel, or I think a lot of kids, especially back in the day, it was like a big thing to go to camp.
Yeah, I guess so.
Like both of my grandparents went to camp.
Right. But that's a thing of the past for many. And many people, and many kids can't take vacations. So they're just home. I mean, if you think about if you look at the majority of the population.
Yeah.
How many parents and families can afford to go on trips and vacations and stuff in the summer, or get time off from work even in the summer?
Yeah, that's true.
So it's really not benefiting anybody. If anything, there's tons of kids that are just home alone or roaming around for, during the summer months and can get in
Roaming
trouble.
around.
I think it creates a lot of problems, and I don't think it falls in line with modern society.
It might be because during the summer months it's so hot and they wouldn't be able to afford the air conditioning. I swear
Maybe.
it could be part of it.
Schools are generally pretty hot though.
Yeah. Can you imagine the summer?
Especially in like Arizona or Texas.
Yeah, like, have you ever gone to a school in the summer? I bet you have.
Yeah, I've been to summer school. It sucks.
Yeah, it's normally hot as shit. But I didn't mean summer school, but a school in the summer.
Yeah.
Hot.
That could be part of it. Maybe it's just too hot to have kids there.
Yeah.
And what if the AC breaks? Then you're screwed. Then you got to let kids out. But I think also the argument for this is that you lose like 20 to 30% of your knowledge from having a break that long. Like we've learned that in order to learn, you have to, practice and repetition really helps with learning it. And if you have these months in between school years, like you're going to lose some of that knowledge, right? It's just a thought. Another thing that I think needs to change ASAP is school just starts too damn early.
Mm-hmm. I think so too.
Why is it like for young kids have to be at school by like 8 a.m., 7:30? Like,
oh, I know.
That's crazy.
I know. And then like in high school, you have to get up so early, and like a lot of kids like you had like practice before school where you're barely getting any sleep.
And then if you enjoy any extracurricular activities, you got to literally like almost kill yourself to make it through the day. Like by the time you go to practice, like I played basketball in high school and we'd have practice, morning practice, and sometimes after school practice, even on top of that, or you do weight training in the morning. So I'd get there like 6 a.m. I'd practice for like till like 7-ish, because school started at like 7:50. And so I'd have to like get ready, go to school, go to all my classes. So school on average is like 8 hours or 6.5 hours or something throughout the day. And then after school, I'd then have to go to another hour and a half of practice, then go home, then eat, then do homework for an hour or two. And then you go to bed, and it's like this total grind that you get into, which maybe that's how they set it up.
Yeah,
So
probably.
you learn to grind. So we're all good at grinding.
Yeah.
Once we enter the workforce, realize, look, get up, routine. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't help the kids that end up going on being creators and artists and, all these other types of careers that are out there that don't require this type of grind or routine. What we do now, YouTube, so I don't know. I think there needs to be some changes. And I mean, lots of class sizes are like way too big. 25, 30 kids is insane. Didn't your friend like have a huge class and you went there and it was just like chaotic? Like you were like,
one of my like closest friends, she was in my wedding. She's a teacher, elementary teacher for like second grade. And she got, I think it was like maybe 2 years ago, she got moved out to the portable unit and it had no air conditioning. I went to visit.
Crazy.
It was so hot. And then she had like so many kids in there. Like I couldn't believe they were all with her. It was like it must have been like almost 30. It was insane.
That's craziness.
And it's smaller than the classroom that I worked in before.
I mean, we're talking like literally a little trailer. Like,
it was really bad.
Like a 20-foot trailer or something. It's not big. Mm-hmm. So that's just chaotic. And then on top of that, you're causing anxiety and stress for the students, but then the teachers are stressed and anxiety ridden because they're overwhelmed with the amount of kids. And then they're literally graded and their whole job rides on the performance of the kids. Yeah. How are the kids supposed to do well if they're in that environment? And two, how are teachers supposed to do well and do a good job teaching and educating the youth when they're in these types of conditions and environments? And that was like one of my biggest points is we absolutely need to pay teachers more than 100%. We do. It's crazy what we pay teachers.
I know it's extremely sad. And huge shout out to all of you teachers who are out there listening to this. Like, thank you for doing what you do because you are not paid enough.
Unsung heroes, man.
It sucks.
It's very difficult. And I mean, like I said, I grew up with teachers and we didn't have a lot of money for many years of our life. And my parents eventually went into administration, being principals and whatnot. So obviously you make a bit more money there, but if you don't plan on doing administration, it's very hard to make like a decent paying salary as a teacher. It's very hard.
Very, very hard.
And so many teachers like are just above poverty, if not in poverty.
Yeah. And they still have to like buy materials for their classes oftentimes too.
It's wild. It's completely wild. And yet, again, millions and millions and billions of dollars are going to missiles and bombs and fighter planes and all of this and that. And it's like, God, we're really missing what's important. Something else I was going to bring up is I think, I don't know. I think that we need to do more to provide pathways for kids that aren't just like cut out for college and school. And we need to bring back trade schools and stuff. Like, why are trade schools like disappearing? You know, like, so there's so many jobs and careers that I learned that don't require a college degree that make a good living wage that many kids just don't know about or even hear, because they're told like doctors, lawyers, you know, all these jobs that scientists and, you know, all these jobs that require this extra education where you got to go to essentially a corporation. That's what many colleges are, and pay this insane fee, sometimes up to $100,000 total to just get a piece of freaking paper to then go work in that industry.
God.
Meanwhile, there's jobs like HVAC, electrical, salon. I mean, there's tons and tons and tons, any type of construction, any type of building. I mean, what happened to that? Like, why don't we give those options to kids? Because that was like my biggest thing, is so many kids by the time they get to high school just completely lose interest in school. They're like, I'm over
burned out
the subjects. Like, I'm just over it. It's not going to relate to my normal life. Like, I want to learn some actual shit. Like, why aren't we providing kids schools where they can go for, you know, for free or for a low cost, where they can learn all of these careers and jobs that are out there that don't require, you know, this big expensive degree.
Right.
I think
setting
that would
more people up for success in their life.
Right. Would just overall help society.
Not just the people who end up like successful in their eyes, you know? Yeah.
Totally.
Yep.
Because I think there's a lot of people that legitimately just don't need to go to college. Like, it's not in the cards. Like, your talents lie elsewhere, and there is other things you can do to make a living for yourself. You just have to figure out what they are. And I don't think a lot of people are good at like figuring out what types of jobs are out there that don't require a degree. Like, if it were up to me, if I went back, I wouldn't have gotten a college degree, most likely, because I originally went into technology and IT specifically, and that world is heavily based on certificates.
Right.
Which
it
there's all
almost
these
felt pointless. Your degree still feels pointless to me.
Yeah. I mean, literally, I already knew everything that my degree supposedly taught me. And then all of it you learn on the job, just learning from somebody more experienced than you. Mm-hmm. So it's, I mean, thousands of dollars later, you know, and I'm just fine without it. And yet I still have to pay the government back this huge sum for my college. And then the last thing that I was going to bring up is standardized testing. Like, do you think we should get rid of standardized testing, or should we evolve it? Should we change it? What are your thoughts on that?
Sorry.
She's like,
well, because like, I don't think we should
completely
eliminate it, because
we have to have tests to gauge like knowledge. Yeah,
but I don't know how to maybe there should be different tests.
Well, here's what I think it's shitty to give
everyone the same test.
But I think they need to give more diversity to the test. Like, it shouldn't be so much like multiple choice and like questions like
other
that.
Types of
other ways to apply your knowledge.
Right. Well, they do that with CSAP. Like, you write.
Well, they give you the writing stuff and all of that, but you know, there should be other ways to do it. Like, some people just aren't good at taking tests. They're not good at looking down and reading and then computing all that at the same time, versus like if you took a student that was maybe good at math, but they sucked at testing in the standardized form, maybe you have them actually like do it out on a board or something in a physical sense. Mm-hmm. Like,
maybe that's how it should be for everyone, that like you get evaluated and just get a score from a professional that evaluates people.
And I mean, obviously, theoretically, this is like not that practical, but there's really a reason why
don't know,
they do it this way. But I think it could be improved and maybe even eliminated altogether. Like, for example, Finland outperforms the United States and many other countries in almost every area. And they have kids just spend way less time in the classroom. They have 50-minute recesses. Lunch is free. Students get very little homework, because that's another thing I was going to mention. I don't think there's a big enough there's not enough, I'm looking for the word, emphasis put on family life and how important it is to develop that family life and extracurricular things,
or just
outside of school.
Life skills. I feel like we don't learn a lot of things that we actually need
Practical
for life.
Skills. Yeah.
Like, and when were we talking about this? Just like when we were figuring out like credit and stuff and applying for like buying a house and stuff.
Loans,
I was like,
even.
why didn't we learn any of this in high school? Like, there should be a class. If I have typing class in high school, don't you think you should also have like bill paying class, money management class?
That's a huge thing.
That would have been more helpful to me than algebra for sure.
Yeah. No, that's what I'm saying is like, I think by the time you hit high school, you've got all the basics of all the subjects down. And at that point, maybe you should be opened up to more specific lines of education and careers that might be more applicable to you versus forcing every kid to go through algebra 2 and geometry and all this other shit that you'll forget as soon as you're done with that class, you know, first, and have them do money management or just work on like a mindful class where kids can take time to de-stress and be more mindful about things. I mean, that's what Finland's doing and it's clearly working for them. So is there a way to somehow apply what they're doing to our country? Possibly. But the last thing that I wanted to mention was the recent college admission scandal, which is just fucking crazy and just literally proves everything we're talking about the failures and about, you know, how elites are getting, you know, more elite and, you know, taking advantage of the system in order to help themselves.
Yeah, this story was crazy. My God.
So this is a $25 million college admission scandal. Charges were brought by federal prosecutors against 50 people in a sweeping college cheating scandal in which wealthy parents paid roughly $25 million total to help their children gain admission at exclusive colleges and universities, including Yale, Stanford, Georgetown, and USC, which is crazy. Of course, there's, you know, rich people that are gaming the system in which they game the system, and the justice system and every other government system, it seems like, is corrupt.
Yeah.
As far as like, if you got the money, you can basically get whatever you want in this country.
Your way in life. Yeah.
Yeah. You buy your way. So like, you know, that one girl who was a YouTuber, right?
Yeah. Olivia Jade. So her mom is Lori Loughlin. She's from Full House. Yeah. And, she paid like $500,000 to get both of her daughters into USC. And when she found out her mom got arrested, she was on a yacht with like someone huge at the college, like a big admissions person.
Literally.
So not a great time to be on a
coming
yacht.
Out proving that they're all taking bribes and
And it's so crazy. Like she had a YouTube video where she was like, yeah, I want to go to school for the like college parties and, you know, tailgating and stuff and want to have
like,
fun.
How'd you get into USC? That's a hard school to get into.
Yeah. And they paid their way right in. Which
I bet there's so much more that has yet to been uncovered with that.
Yeah, there might even be more people. From what I've heard, they've like only released some of the names. There's like a lot of people that are involved in this giant scandal.
Corruption runs deep.
Yeah.
It was even like testing proctors that are changing scores. People photoshopping their kids doing sports they don't even do or activity. What was there, like rowing club or something?
Yeah, she said she was in rowing and she had never done it. And they even posed her.
What the fuck?
I don't know if it was Olivia Jade I think it was.
Yeah,
Someone
pretty
posed
sure.
for it. Like
and
literally
they,
got out with like a fucking rower and was like,
cheating. Straight up cheating, manipulating because they're rich and they have the money to just blow.
Yeah.
To lie and cheat their way into university.
Yep.
That's just sad.
Think about all the people that have done that over time.
Oh yeah. That's what I'm saying.
Have you ever seen someone that like gets into a really good school and you're just like, not like anyone I know personally, but like, you know,
true.
So I don't know. I feel like there's probably a lot of people that bribe. There's probably more bribery going on in colleges than we realize.
Oh yeah.
Maybe not on this fucking level, but still could be a lot.
And imagine like if there's probably people on all levels of school, you know, high school that are taking bribes and, you know, changing grades. Because if you think about it, like, I don't think there's that many things in place to prevent somebody from doing that.
Yeah.
Like catching somebody, or there's like checks and balances that would, you know, like what if a parent's like paying a teacher on the side to change their grades?
Yeah.
Paying them big money to change their grades and stuff. I mean, it's possible and could be happening.
Yeah. It is possible.
I don't know. It's really tough. It's really tough. Like this whole issue of the education system and the public education system, because it's like, can we even really do anything about it at the end of the day? And like my mom, she, you know, whenever I talk to her, she's always like stressed out talking about different things that she has to do. And a lot of times it has to do with money. Like she's like, I got to go to community and try to raise money to pass a bond. And in order to just give my teachers the pay increase that they've been promised.
Yeah.
And that's the stress that's happening there. Is it's super stressful because teachers are starting to strike and demand more money, as they should.
Yeah.
Because they're not making anywhere near as much as they should. Same goes with like first responders. I think they're far under, they're well underpaid.
Some of the most important people in our society are underpaid. It's really sad.
And yet we've got like hedge fund managers, people on Wall Street making like millions of dollars, just like gaming the system and stuff. It's like, fuck, our society needs a restructure.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, I mean, imagine a world where everybody had a truly fair opportunity or even could go to school for free if they needed to. Because, I mean, it's like, should everybody in the world be able to go to college free? I think they should have an opportunity to. But I think there should be something you have to do to prove that you're willing to go do the work to go to school. And you shouldn't just be able to get in because you've got the money or, you just want to go and party or whatever. Like, I don't know. I just think that's kind of cheating the system.
Kind of. It's majorly cheating the system. It's seriously wrong.
Yeah. God. And I mean, when I was, looking into all of this, I did look into the UK a bit because I know there's a lot of you over there. And honestly, it seemed like a lot of the issues are very similar to over here. There's, not enough money for the public education system. People are stressed. There's, probably people over there that are gaming the system. And, I think there's, I don't know, let us know, but I think there's a lot more like private schools over there and stuff as opposed to here. There's really not as much over here because people just can't afford it. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it seems like no matter where you go in the world, there is these similar types of issues where, the underclass is totally getting screwed. I think
that's just like part of the world. Like the lowest class has always been getting screwed forever. Like if you go back to Egypt, even like we've talked about the caste system in the last, like the lowest people get the least amount of access to things and it's harder to climb up.
Yeah.
It's kind of how society's like always been.
Yeah. But I think that there's, points in history where it gets better. And that's the reason why we've evolved as a civilization. You know what I'm saying? Like if we want to truly move into the next realm where we're like interplanetary travel and everything else and, raise our consciousness and all of that, like we can't do it when, people are getting away with, cheating and the schools are underfunded. Teachers can't even afford to teach. There's so many teachers that have to get other jobs or just quit teaching altogether and go into something else. Cause they're like, screw this. Like it's not worth the pain and stress and everything else that comes along with it for that small paycheck they get.
Yeah.
It's just crazy. So sad. There's not even like a bonusing system there. If anything, like give teachers a bonus if they go above and beyond and do actually increase their, classes scores and whatnot. So it's a very complex issue. And today I just wanted to kind of overview it and give our, personal examples and backgrounds with it. Cause it is something very, dear to Kendall and I mean,
I feel like you have fonder memories of it than me.
No, I'm not saying that fonder. I think we both agree that education's important.
Oh yeah,
and
definitely.
It does.
The system's just really broken right now. It doesn't work for everybody.
Just like the criminal justice system that we talked about. It's interesting how all of our government systems are kind of similar.
Court, healthcare, everything's fucked.
Nobody's getting money because all the money's going to the military, pretty much.
Yeah. And then just not even to mention the amount of money missing from our military budget is just defense budget, nuts. Yeah. So
it's like, what the hell? Why isn't the American public clued into military spending more? Like, why do we know where all $600 billion of that's going?
That's crazy.
Where's it going? Who's getting paid? Because even soldiers and stuff don't get paid that much.
Secret programs.
So what the fuck? Tell us what the secret programs are.
They're not going to tell you what the secret is.
Or it's just all this like equipment and shit that's just all sitting there doing nothing, waiting for World War III.
Yeah. Maybe they're building secret weapons too. Who knows?
There's something going on because it doesn't, I don't understand where all that money's going to. And if we just gave a little bit more to education, like imagine how much better society would be with, the economy would be better. Everything would be better.
A big difference. Yeah.
It would, wouldn't it? Mm-hmm. But anyways, guys,
we want to know what you guys think. We want to know your experience with the education system. I think everyone has such a different experience that it would be cool to hear what everyone has gone through personally, because everyone has like a different road throughout it. And you might have a great experience, especially if you're like a teacher or something. I'd love to hear your experience.
Yeah, if you're a teacher out there, yeah.
Please share with us for sure.
Or like if you identify with Kendall or I's story, like let us know. I always find it interesting when, you know, we see people that are very similar to us and, you know, had similar experiences to us. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed today's episode. It was a little bit different than normal.
It was good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let us know if it was good. If you liked it, thumbs it up, subscribe. But yeah, that'll wrap it up for us today, guys. We will be back with a interesting crime next week.
Yes.
So get ready for that. But thanks again for listening. As always, stay safe
and stay woke.
We'll see you guys next time.